Good morning, everybody. We have today a special guest with us, Abdus Salaam, the founder and CEO of Truman. And today we are here to discuss with him about his journey and take some inspirations on him about how to make the world a better place, not just for ourselves and our communities, but also for the world at large and the workforce at large. So, with that, Abdus, why don't we start by just talking a little bit about yourself, your background, your early childhood, and then we can segue into the sequence of events which led to starting up of Truman and your wonderful journey.
Hi Rajiv, thank you for this opportunity. And uh, my name is Abdus Salaam, and I born and brought up in Delhi. And I've done my schooling from a government school, which is wherein it's a Hindi medium, and Pratham Pali Balak and Ditya Pali Balika, which is like in the first session it is for girl child, and the second session which starts from 1 p.m. That's where I started my schooling initially, and then there was a scheme from Delhi government for some good students in academics. So I got into a special school of Delhi government, which started in 1997, and I was a part of the first batch. That was a Pratibha Vikas Vidyalaya, Surajmal Vihar. So I came from that batch, the very first batch. And a lot of good students have come out of those schools, and even till today they are continuing and growing. And later on, then I went to North Campus. I was there in Kirodimal College initially, and then later on, I also eventually I made it to B School to IIM Ahmedabad, and in 1718 AGMP batch. And so that's how I started from a Delhi government school. Eventually made it to, which is a dream. And and I worked for initially I've been working in a private sectors, like primarily into retail staffing companies, which were responsible to hire and deploy shop floor in-shop promoters, sales guys, sales executives, channel executives, to various big brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and so on. And so I had this, close to a decade of stint while working with these retailers and understanding from very close quarters the evolution of modern trade, modern retail, and retail in general in India. And so that's how my academic and initial employment has gone.
Okay, that's wonderful, and it's quite inspirational to start off studying Hindi medium in a government school and move up all the way to the pinnacle of the value chain, which is IIM Ahmedabad, which of course needs no introduction, being the premier B school in the country and of course in the region as well. Coming to the transition from education and your early career in retail staffing services, how did you come up with the idea of starting this organization, Truman? Was there anything which was seeded in your early childhood or in your youth which kind of prompted you to do this? And was it something that you did purely out of your experience, work experience, or do the roots go further back?
Uh, there are too many dots got connected while I was working with I worked in a retail manpower space for close to a decade. There I very closely watched the evolution of retail in India, which is like now today we have close to 4,000 malls in over 100 plus cities. The and it has gone from from local kirana store to spick and span and great entertainment destinations. However, if you would look at the retail manpower space, which contributes to close to 8% of employment, the retail sector in India accounts to 8% of employment in India. And However, the way the retail has grown in terms of the brick and mortar and the malls and everything, the retail manpower space hasn't evolved in that space. And while I was working with them, and one thing which came back to with a sparking clarity, I can say that when I was a student back in 2000, 2001, and I was studying, and I used to visit these trade fairs, auto expos, a lot of events. And that time, used to see these students working there for 14 days and making good money. And I always like kind of, I wanted to do those jobs because what I all used to get is a DTC ka bus pass to travel to college and to come back, right? So, and always wanted, but never got an opportunity to do those kinds of jobs because there was no contacts. You need to know some local agencies to get into those kinds of a job and to earn. And somehow I never got made it to that job. And
And these fairs that you're talking about, the 14-day fair, this I presume would be the India International Trade Fair at Pragati
yes,
Maidan, which draws, I think, thousands of exhibitors and probably lakhs or millions of visitors, right?
absolutely, absolutely. India International Trade Fair, Auto Expos, and if you go to Pragati Maidan, there's every day there is some or the other fair. There's a
Right.
food stall, there's a mango fair, there's everything, and so many mandates being consumed, wherein these student communities being placed to do the promotion, right? And I never made it to those jobs. I always wanted that extra money to make it to a PVR or something, right,
Right.
during my initial 2000 my college days. So now that memory, and now after working with these retailers for so many, close to a decade and seeing everything so closely, I realized that we as India have not been able to keep pace with the retail manpower needs. On the one side, the retailer is short of manpower, short of quality, short of uh, uh, better lead time in terms of deploying a workforce, right? And on the other side, our youth, they are short of opportunities. What sort of opportunities do they have? Back in
Right.
2001, 2002, I can believe that I could not have a discovery platform to do that kind of a job, a retail gig. But now, today in 2021, 22, even then, if we do not have that kind of a solution, I think there is something highly missing for our youth, and which is
Yeah.
there in abundance.
Correct. So it's, very interesting. So it's not, serendipity, or it's not just one of the things which has sparked this idea or this organization. It's actually a combination of three things, if I were to kind of paraphrase or summarize what you've been saying. One is your personal experiences, especially around, not being able to find the job opportunities at trade fairs or, of course, other retail channels in a very structured manner. That problem existed 20 years ago, and that problem still exists today, despite all the technological advances and all the money coming into the startup, and all the advances that we've been able to have. The second thing is, of course, your professional experience in a similar domain in retail staffing services, which I'm sure equips you much better to kind of execute these ideas, because I'm sure a lot of people have these thoughts at the top or at the back of their minds, but you also do have the professional experience of having worked in similar spaces. And I think the third thing, which is very important, is the macro picture of not just the retail industry, but I think it's a bigger question of the youth of the country. And that's a very interesting point, because when we speak about the country, India in particular, and about our future, we always talk about the demographic dividend. We always talk about the strength of our youth. And I know, in my previous conversations with you, you've been quite vocal about the kind of, and rather critical about the kind of opportunities that are available to the youth in today's times. Even despite all the startups and all the new tech companies, the kind of opportunities that are available to the youth are not very uplifting. So, would you want to share your thoughts about that at a macro level?
Absolutely, Rajiv. One of the few things which really disturbed me, and I'm quite vocal about few things about the opportunities to the youth today. In terms of, if you would look at somebody, I take you through a youth situation today. Somebody who is just attained an age of 18 years, be it 10th pass, 12th pass, no schooling, dropout, or pursuing some graduation, pursuing some school of open learning, or from regular college also, even because today the regular colleges even is Monday to Friday. What option do they have? If somebody who is a get a bike and get a license, can actually work with Swiggy, Zomato, these delivery companies, be it delivering for Flipkart or Grofers, anyone. And then if you are somebody who's a beautician and get kind of some opportunity, can get on with urban company, urban flats of the world. And maybe somebody who has got a license may get started with Ola, Uber, and all that stuff. Yeah, arranging a vehicle. Do these jobs really build careers? That is a question which I keep asking, to the industry, because these people, which is not even 12th pass, they do not have anything to fall back upon. How they make careers. If you would deep dive, you would understand that these people actually uplift their lives by doing some initial hard-working jobs and making their way up. And now, if these youth being poised with the jobs which are easy to enter, I would not say even easy to enter, because that calls for a bike, yeah, that calls for a capex. Then also the petrol prices, that opex, and the situation, the environment they are working in day out, they are riding. They are chasing, they're not sleeping, they're doing odd hour workings. So, with all these at stake, this youth is not getting apart from, a bone in the end.
Right.
So
Yeah, and
that
I
is the,
think, yeah, and with the 10-minute delivery, which has become the latest craze, in the grocery ecosystem, I think things are becoming much worse, where they are even risking their lives and the lives of others to do menial jobs, which are actually not building careers.
they're not building careers. Even for example, if me and you and anybody, after doing, good, coming from good colleges, if had we been told that you can get a great salary but no career, in fact, we have not, kind of picked those jobs, right?
Right.
Because, so just imagine these people being given a job and no career. It is such a naked truth, and we
Correct.
can't shy away from this. And that is why Truman, as a principle, we do not get involved with any kind of a writer jobs. We are creating meaningful opportunities for the youth to work locally on on the task, on the opportunities which can actually help them build their careers, which can actually take them a step up, a level
Right.
up.
Right. No, it's very fascinating, because when you look at, say, the retail opportunity in the country, I think the conventional thinking of the startup world or the new age companies or the tech companies really has been to provide a solution by disintermediating the retailers or the existing players and providing a direct to consumer sort of technology interface. But as a result of that, while technology is a great enabler and provides a lot of value addition, the impact on the workforce and the broader impact on their lives and the trajectory of their careers and their lives, I think that has not been debated well enough. And certainly, as compared to this sort of delivery boy models, retail offers a completely different plethora of opportunities and skill development opportunities. So, from your perspective, since you worked in this space a lot, how do you see retail providing a differentiated set of opportunities for the youth to build careers, to build skills, and to advance up the value chain in the course of their lives?
How it happens, if, for suppose somebody who starts working in retail, he gets an opportunity to actually interact day in day out with the customers. He has got, he develops over time a good communication skills. He comes out of his comfort zone, and once he starts speaking to the customer, he understands how to approach a customer. These are the basic things which are primarily required everywhere in every industry. you know uh, that is a sought after kind of a quality in a manpower. So, and then he gets to learn the inventory, what is an inventory, what is a body posture to be maintained, how to close a sale, how to negotiate, and how to reply to so many discount offers, how to reply to size inquiries. So there are too many things to learn in the retail. And eventually, by if he does well, for example, if somebody who starts with, for example, Big Bazaar, okay, Big Bazaar probably be paying a little, is a budget friendly, so it's the remuneration may to start with maybe 500 rupees a day, hypothetically. Eventually, but if he works there for 6 months, and he imbibes all the quality of a good salesman, eventually he can start working for a good big multinational companies, like for suppose Mark and Spencer. He probably would earning 1500 rupees a day. So eventually he would be uplifting himself and adding quality and becoming better and better salesman. And eventually he could end up being a salesman for a company called Maruti Suzuki, who would be selling an automobile. So, and eventually his earning would go up to 1 lakh rupees a month. So that is how there's a clear cut trajectory and the success ratio. If 10 people start working, I was speaking to somebody yesterday who is from MLM and the biggest brand in India. And they have over close to 1 million youth with them. The success ratio in MLM is 1 out of 10 out of 1,000 to get to a next level. Here, I'm talking about if the 10 people get entered into a retail workforce, ecosystem and start working there, the 10 out of 10 make it to the next level.
Okay.
Even Zomato, if you would look at, sorry, for the delivery, there's a platform, there is no team leader. In conventional sales system, what used to happen, there used to be 10 sales executives, then one used to be a team leader, and then managers. Here, you are serving through a platform. 1 million riders are serving to a platform. There is no next level.
Right. Yeah, so absolutely. I think, both in terms of career progression and hierarchy, there just doesn't seem to be a next level as you described with the help of an example. But also, going back to what you were talking about, the skill sets, these are very, very important life skills, I would say. Customer interaction and sales skills are critical, and selling skills was not something that even the IIMs taught us, right? And that is something that we've kind of picked up on our way during our professional careers, kind of figuring it out on our own and seeing what works. So in that context, I think if we are giving that opportunity to graduates or people who've not even been part of the formal 12+3 education system to actually develop and learn and acquire and hone their selling skills and customer interaction skills, I think that's an invaluable life skill which any role would require. It's not just about the retail roles. I think even in industry, if I'm running an organization and if you give me people who have that customer experience and customer centricity and conversion and selling skills, what more do we want, right?
Absolutely, and in this platform, delivery opportunities to our youth, they are not interacting with anyone. They are picking
Mhm.
up order from some restaurant, from some warehouse, and just delivering it to a guy. And
Right,
even in these COVID times, they are not even just ring the bell and drop the box and they go away. Just
right.
imagine what is it there to learn
Yeah,
apart from the routes, lanes,
right.
and they would be expert in 6 days. Why to work for
Yeah,
6 months, right?
right, right.
So,
Yeah, no,
so
that's very interesting, and we've spoken a lot about the supply side, which is the workforce and the people who come to work for retail industry through Truman. And then, of course, there is the demand side, which is the customers that Truman is serving. And in that context, I'm just wondering, and looking also at your brandishing of your brand, Truman, right? On your jacket. Uh, Truman is exactly true to whom? Is it true to the workforce? Is it true to the customer? And what does Truman represent in that context? And what is the thinking behind coming up with this brand of yours?
Uh, Truman, the name, we are a value-driven organization. Having said that, what we mean that we give a lot of emphasis to the value system, and that's why if you look at the tagline, the humane company, we it's a business with a purpose. And Truman, the name came from because I have seen this community, this workforce very closely. And trust me, Rajiv, this community, there's a clear-cut trust deficit. The youth really wants to work. They really want to work wherein they are sure of getting paid on time. Yeah. How these drivers, they are now trusting Ola, Uber, and working with them, and it's at this scale. Everybody is getting paid. Because these uh, companies have actually earned the trust of these drivers. Yeah. So this community of ours, which is like deprived of good opportunities to work at, they are also deprived of trustworthy channels, platforms to work and get paid. So that is one, and that is how this Truman has came. That is for the supply side. And if you look at on the demand side also, I would like to say that, the big giants like Amazons and everyone, they are talking about empowering small retailers today. You talk about any retail, any company who is working in the retail space, they all are talking, the buzzword is like, let's empower small retailer. Let's take them online. Yeah. Truman, I give you another. I just imagine a guy who opens a store. Forget about how Truman would be actually serving and helping, and on-demand workforce to the big retail giants, wherein helping them with seasonality of their sales, and help them roster the manpower and performance management and everything, and cut down the lead time. I'm talking about we are going to change the retail landscape for small retailers, wherein what all they would be worried about that how to open the shop. They would not have to worry about how to get a good salesman. Because if a small retailer opens a shop, uh, uh, you know, he has no way to get a good salesman, a professional salesman, right?
Right.
So so we Truman would actually empowering not just the youth, but also small retailers, wherein no staffing company even would be taking an interest in supplying a talent to him, to her.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's one. And just to draw a better understanding and comparison, like the way the restaurants, you open a restaurant and do not worry about like who will deliver the food to the customer, right? You just sign up with these delivery companies. Similarly, you would just open a shop and for salesmen, there's a program.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's an interesting value prop, and yeah, it kind of makes sense, both from the workforce side or the supply side, and where we spoke about your initial experiences and what you saw at these trade fairs and the lack of visibility in employment opportunities, right down to the retail industry, about which we always keep saying that it's an unorganized sector, and the right sort of skill development initiatives, etc., are not there. But yeah, I mean, come to think of it, not too much has been done on it at a institutionalized level or at a countrywide level to kind of make any changes on the ground. And speaking about that, what's the kind of impact that you've been able to make on the ground? If you could share some examples around that. And secondly, what does it translate into? It's one thing to do this for, a set of 10, 20, 100 customers and run a profitable business. But, this problem is, of course, massive, because when we talk about retail, we are talking about the length and breadth of a country as diverse as India, and probably, millions of people in this workforce associated with retail.
Yeah, given the market size and how big the retail is, just to give you a quick glimpse of the modern trade, they consume close to there's 4,000 malls with on an average you get 200 to 220 stores in a mall, and with an average of 5 salesmen per shop, you're consuming close to 50 lakhs man days a day, which is like close to, if not less than, it's close to $70 million market a day, which is like, that makes close to $300 billion market a year.
Right.
Okay. So that's an approximate, and if you, because the modern trade not even, amount to not even 10% of the entire retail in India, right? So
Right.
given that, so given the market is so big and huge, coming to your question that how are we going to actually serve to this such a big market, and such a big problem statement, uh, we and how the youth responding to the way we are working, you know uh, uh, Rajiv, today the way we are working with the youth, there is a lot of problems. One is the trust deficit, which I told you. Apart from that, there is a huge problem of underpayment. The underpayment, wherein I say that something which starts from 100 rupees, you know the guy who is actually doing the legwork gets like 20 rupees. That is kind of, there's no transparency in the system. The multiple hands exchanges which happens before it gets to the guy who is working. So we are, we are cutting across, mitigating all those layers, and now through the platform, these people are getting a direct work, and due to this, their earning has gone up. And now today, the situation, and the kind of encouragement which I get from the supply side, that they have become my eyes and ears, and whatever activities, campaigns, retail activities which are going on the field, they come and say that why don't Truman takes that project?
Right. Because they know
That
that if the value of the work is 100, if they work in the market through other channels, they'll probably only get 20, but with Truman, they'll probably get a lion's share of that 100.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely,
So they
and
de facto have become your business development or business intelligence channel of sorts.
yes, and this has been very encouraging for me as a founder, and that really keeps me going. And if you would look at, we created a couple of videos with our workforce on the ground, and they all have been working in different projects with us, and we tried and captured their videos. We went to Punjab. There's a very small town called Muxar, wherein we, through our platform, we've been able to take those opportunities to small towns even. For example, there are companies which are deploying QR codes to retailers, and they want, and scale as much as possible. They want to get into every corner of India. And through our platform, we've been able to create those opportunities during the COVID lockdown times, to those towns, and people have actually made their living.
Right.
So, and we capture those emotions in our videos. And for me, that is a fuel which I look for every day, to keep running and to keep making and keep
Right.
building.
Right. Yeah, so we'll definitely, embed the videos and give the links to the article, and the viewers will find the link of the article in the description down below. But very interestingly, you speak about the pandemic, and all this while I've been wondering, since your model is, physically dependent on the retail sector, how did you guys go about, surviving the pandemic for the last 2 years, most of which have been under lockdown, at least for the retail sector?
Those in the very first lockdown has given us a good opportunity to go back and start working on the technology piece, because we realized that we have to have a good technology in place to take it to the youth in a seamless manner and to serve our clients better. So we created workflow solution for our operations team. We launched our new website. We worked on the mobile application. And as a bootstrap startup, we cannot go wrong with the money, right? So that has given us an opportunity wherein to build those technology pieces to actually be ready post that COVID time, get over. And what happened post lockdown? These retailers, their demand for workforce has become, what I was expecting to happen in 2023. It started showing signs in 2021. Because the retailers now realize that they need people only when they have something to do. For example, a retailer is a retail shop is opening on Monday and then off on Tuesday and opening on Wednesday. You know, given the way they have been, they out of business, they really can't afford. They need a solution around the manpower. Similarly, there are a lot of activities which are on the field, and they want it has to be run in a performance-based model and success-based model. My inquiries on the business side had gone 5x post lockdown, and that is where we realized that there is no way looking back. That's
Right.
how the future would unfold, because now they need that solution. And with the union budget, we see that acceptance and acknowledgement to the word gig, you know, is it's an overall positivity, that I can safely say that for us it has been a blessing in disguise.
Right. Yeah, which is very counterintuitive if if we look at it from an outsider's perspective, that an industry segment which is dependent on physical activity sees the pandemic as a blessing in disguise. But yeah, I guess it gives everybody an opportunity to reset their mindsets. I think that's what the pandemic has done in the biggest possible way. And this is certainly nothing short of resetting the mindset when it comes to looking at how retail businesses are staffed. And there is no reason why, for instance, the staffing levels in retail outlets or in the retail industry should be uniform throughout the 7 days of the week, when you have, in most cases, a lumpy demand at the weekend, or at different points in time in the year when you have lumpy demands during festive seasons or peak sale seasons, or what have you. So this kind of provides a perfect stopgap arrangement, either on a more regular, predictable weekly basis, or in the more sort of ad hoc annual cycles when you get to sale seasons and stuff.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, anybody who can, imagine that how the retail of 2025 would be, and how the retail manpower, in our in Indian retail space, as I said, that we got so many malls and everything as shiny spick and span. But if the workforce is the quality of workforce is not that been great. And what we see in the Western countries, the people which are coming, the students from good colleges, coming from a good socioeconomic background, are face of retail, which we hardly see in India. So eventually, and that is another thing, which is the quality of workforce, that no matter how much money a brand is ready to invest and put in the manpower, the talent is not there. That collaboration of, that 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 talent of student community and in the retail hasn't happened yet in India. So
Right.
yeah, so that is one, and also as you rightly said, the seasonality of retail is such that they need a solution around that. That hasn't happened to retailers yet, but they need that. There's a day-wise seasonality. If you would look at barista, any retail good retail shop, that there's a 6 to 10 p.m. You see such a
Right.
seasonality, customer walk-ins,
Yeah.
and from 10 to 6 you hardly have. And then similarly, in a mall, just to give you an idea, that close to 70% of the sale happens in the first 3 weekends. So just imagine Monday to Thursday, the retailers with 5 salesmen is quite idle, and
Right.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's like difficult to manage. And during end of season sale, Diwali, Navratras, Adi Puja, and all that, you don't get a salesman when you are looking for a different size.
Right. Yeah, so certainly I can, clearly see from a retailer standpoint, massive value in this. And yeah, I was only speaking about weekly and annual cycles, but yeah, I see what you're saying about even the daily peak. So I can clearly think of a restaurant which has probably, a bimodal sort of distribution at lunchtime and dinner time. And yeah, that would pretty much be about it when in terms of, when they need the manpower, and even
And
that level would be probably different for lunch and dinner depending on the target audience and the location of the restaurant.
also, one more thing which I would like to add, and in this kind of a peak, in the evening peaks, which we see in retail, a student can easily work for 3 hours, 4 hours, in the evening to make, if to make ends meet. That is one. And the other point, like for suppose some in India, we see a lot of problem, graduates getting placed to jobs. The problem that the freshers are not welcome and they're not groomed enough. The education level, has always been in question in people coming from B town, C town cities. Just imagine a guy who is staying in Meerut, studying there, working in that mall for some branch for some season. And by the time he becomes a graduate over a passage of 3 years, he has worked over close to 5-10 brands, acquired experiences across some good brands in working in those because there are malls in Meerut.
Right.
So imagine the kind of grooming he would have got for himself, and so much of development he would see in the
Right.
interaction and everything. So he would no longer be a fresher. So we
Right.
are making our youth future ready to roll.
Right. So, apart from providing these opportunities of gigs and, employment or quasi-employment, uh, is there anything that you guys are doing or planning on the learning and development front? Because, when I look at your own journey, starting from a Hindi medium school, in a government setup to rising up all the way to IIM Ahmedabad, I'm sure, you have learned a lot from this journey and you've seen the value of good quality education and learning interventions. So, is there something that you're planning on those lines for the workforce that gets impacted and influenced through Truman?
Absolutely. So we are currently working on our LMS module, wherein we are creating retail specific training modules which makes a youth ready to work in a retail ecosystem. For example, we are creating training modules through the lens of the customer. Yeah, that when a customer walks in, that what is it he probably be expecting in a shoe shop, what he is probably be expecting in a fabric shop, what he would probably be expecting in a car showroom, and how to greet that. So it is to the point, exclusively built for becoming a good retail sales executives. And that is how, today the situation is that the retailers but the kind of talent they get is primarily a warm bodies through the staffing companies, which are serving watchmen, liftmen, accountant, everyone. They
Right.
don't, they don't have any special set up to provide some talented workforce for the retail space. However, at Truman, through those modules which we are building, we are here to serve retailers with pre-verified, pre-screened, and pre-trained retail workforce. So that's how we are going to make a huge difference to retailers and to the youth, wherein they're actually, and this is for youth, it is entirely, without a cost. It is entirely free. Come, learn, and earn, and move up.
Okay, that's awesome. So it's not just about providing the gig opportunities and providing, a larger lion's share of the value of the work that they're doing, but also providing them complementary skill upgrades in terms of structured learning interventions, apart
Yes.
from on-the-job learning.
And
Okay,
through the
that's
platform, as we are going to serve, we are serving, how it would eventually, any youth who is associated with Truman platform would be, the entire journey of his work would be recorded. And, similarly, he would have a weightage to the amount of work, amount of hours he has spent with a retailer, and also the amount of learning he has acquired through the platform. So today, maybe he may not be, he is qualified enough to apply for a certain brand, which is a budget brand, and looking for a certain elementary skill set in a workforce. But eventually, by his virtue of his journey in the platform and working with the retailers, and at the same time completing those retail specific modules, learning modules, he would be able to apply to premium brands.
right.
He probably be working at Emporium Mall, right, and able to make a lot good money for himself. So that is how the journey for a youth would happen through the Truman. And we are steadfast on our commitment to uplift youth. And if I talk about the our vision and what drives us, is that we have set a goal for ourselves that we need to uplift 10 million youth by 2025. We need to make 10 million youth smile by 2025, and that what keeps us going.
Oh, that's awesome, and yeah, that's quite an audacious target, but I'm sure very much achievable with all the experience and I think the purpose with which you are approaching this, which is what makes this really special. And on that note, any advice you have for people who want to make a difference, either through the social sector or through their employment or through their entrepreneurial initiatives? Particularly for the wannabe entrepreneurs or people who are just starting off in their entrepreneurial journey. Is there any advice based on what you've seen in your journey over the last few years?
Uh, uh, Rajiv, I'm myself too young to advise people on this journey. However, what I can talk about is that why I took that step, and the two things which is which which helped me to do that is, one is uh, uh, to uh, I really wanted to do something which unleashes me, and keep me uh, to make a peace with myself, with my inner self, and I made that. The moment I took that step, I was in peace with my inner self. So that is the one thing which I achieved, and that is so satisfying. Yeah. Second, when you are working for a value driven organization, when you're trying to build something which has a purpose, you know, uh, everything goes in your favor. You need to put that trust.
Right.
People pray. I put that prayer in practice. I use that to my, to my strength, that it is going to happen. So you know, I so this is how it is, and a little bit spirituality comes in, but yes, that is how it is, and for me, and it has been very satisfying,
Right.
and I'm glad that I've taken it, and I wished I could have started a couple of years earlier.
Right. Yeah, and I love the modesty and the humility with which you say that, yeah, you don't have much to advise people, but I think there are a lot of takeaways, from your experiences. And particularly, I love the fact, what you mentioned about being true to your inner self and realizing that your job, even though there may be commercial considerations, as there may be for people who are at one end, doing delivery boy jobs on their bikes. They may be earning good enough money, but if it is not fulfilling them, if they are not seeing a career for themselves, I think the same holds true for even people who are graduating out of, say, the IITs or IIMs. They may end up in jobs which are not fulfilling them, or which are the kind of more higher educated equivalent of the same delivery boy scenario. So to realize that when you are in a sort of a vicious cycle of that sort, to get out of it, and it becomes even more difficult when you are in a bigger sort of vicious cycle, and the jobs are more higher paying and more comfortable or cushy. uh, the inner voice kind of gets subdued. I think just to listen to that inner voice and to recognize it and to act upon it are three big giant steps, and after that a new journey begins. And with that, Abdus, all the best for your journey, and all the best to the millions of people that you are looking to impact and influence and uplift using your platform.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and it's lovely talking to you.
Yeah, same here. Wonderful speaking to you, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners will have a lot of takeaways from this. Thank you once again. And for the viewers, you can, as I mentioned earlier, you can see the uh, link below in the description, where you will find links to the post, containing a summary of this conversation, as well as some of the videos that Abdus was talking about the kind of real impact that it has made on the people, on the supply side, in the workforce, that we have been talking about. So with that, thank you very much.
Thanks, Rajiv.